Hello people, I'm the Comic Book Gamer. Today I'm going to be talking about how I first got into comics because I get asked about it from time to time. I figured I could make a fun video, so I'm going to be talking about my first comic shop, how I first got into comics, my first convention, things like that. I really want to hear from you guys in the comments down below how you first got into comics as well. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So I first got into comics, a lot of you guys know, because my mom used to take me and my siblings to the library. And at the library I went to, there were these big colorful beanbag chairs, and next to the big colorful beanbag chairs they had these like bins full of just random back issues of comics and Mad Magazine. And I was really attracted to those comics, like, oh man, those look really cool, I want to see what that is, because just everything going on with the comics, it looked cool to me. And so I'd take some issues from the bins and I'd go and I'd sit on the beanbags and I'd just read the comics while everyone else was browsing stuff they wanted to get from the library. That's what I would do, and that was how I initially got into comics. And yeah, it was great. I wish more libraries would do that. I've never seen any other library do that. Most libraries have graphic novels, trade paperbacks, hardcover, stuff like that, but not many had like promoted like my library did, where they had just bins of just random back issues, which was really cool for me. And I even posted a picture of that on Twitter not like forever ago. So that was me when I want to say I was like 5 or 6, and that's there at the library. That's what I would do. I'd just sit there and read, and that was forever ago. So yeah, that was when I got into comics, like 5 or 6, and Superman was always my favorite from day one. I've just always connected with the character and I always thought he was really cool. Which was kind of weird, because growing up, Batman was the coolest to everyone. Like, I grew up in the era to where it was the transition. Prior to my era, it was the Superman was the coolest, because it was Christopher Reeve and everyone loved Superman. And then my era was the Batman the animated series era, where everyone loved Batman, thought Batman was the coolest, and Superman was lame and stupid. And it was the time to make fun of Superman. But I loved Superman so much that he was my favorite, and that's why I primarily read. But then years later, when I want to say I was like 10, 9 or 10, something like that, I was going to my friend's house. We were driving by this place where it had like a neon Batman and Superman sign in the window, and I was like, what place is that? My mom's like, oh yeah, it's the comic shop. I was like, I've been into comics forever and we have a comic shop right here. How did I not know this? So later we ended up stopping by there, and I bought 2 issues from that place. Now, one of those issues I have right here. The other is still in Florida, because most of you guys know I moved from Florida to Washington, and I wasn't able to ship all my comics out here because shipping stuff cross country is really expensive, so I wasn't able to ship everything. But this was one of the first comics I bought, because when I went in there, I asked him where the Superman comics was. The guy showed me, and this was one of them. And this was one of the comics that I got. And then I got another comic, which was part of the Superman Adventures line. I'll have the screenshot up on the screen for you guys to see. That's the other issue I got, because my comic shop is called Seventh Inning Stretch. It closed down back in 2014, which sucks, but it wasn't one of the ones that went out of business. The guy just retired because he had been running it for like 20 something years, and he had just got remarried not too long ago, and so he wanted to spend more time with his new wife, and he had kids, and so he was kind of just working himself to death, so that's why it closed down. But anyways, it still sucks nonetheless. I love my comic shop. It's called Seventh Inning Stretch. I'll have like a video playing on screen, as you can see right here, and I'll have a link down in the description to this video, because I found this the other day when I was looking up Seventh Inning Stretch, because that was my comic shop. I was getting nostalgic for it. I was like, man, I miss it. And it turns out someone made a YouTube video going inside it. So yeah, that was my comic shop. It was very back issues heavy. That's what it was mainly based on, and I absolutely loved it. And all back issues were $1, which was the best for me, because growing up as a kid, you don't have a lot of money, so having back issues that were just $1 was great for me. And that's why I went and I spent $2 the first time I went there, and I bought this and the Superman Adventures issue, because this really caught my eye. It's got Solomon Grundy right there stealing Superman's cape, and I really wanted to know why Solomon Grundy was stealing Superman's cape. And it turned out to be a really good issue, and the art's great. And then the other issue was interesting as well, about the Superman Adventures issue, because it was something that was familiar to me, because even as a kid, I didn't really care for Superman the animated series. I loved Superman, but the animated series like always made me feel like Superman was an idiot. Like, it seemed like they always tried to make Superman feel like an adult and who thought like with his fists first. And I didn't like that, but still, going into this comic shop, there's so many new things. I had no clue what was going on, so I decided to grab something that was familiar to me, and that was Superman Adventures. And the Superman Adventures comics were a lot better than the show was. But yeah, those were the first 2 issues I got, and then later on, I just kept going to the comic shop, and I was going there all the way until 2014 when it closed down. And what I mainly bought when I first started going there was Superman and X-Men. And one of the coolest things was after I'd been going there for about 2 months, I'd say, I was going up to the register with some comics, and the guy that owned it, Jim, he had noticed that I kept buying X-Men comics, so he gave me this. He's like, "Hey, this isn't selling. Do you want it?" I was like, "Yes, please," because this is the first volume of Chris Claremont and Jim Lee's run on X-Men. And he just gave that to me. He's like, "Hey, no one's buying this. Do you want it?" Because he noticed I'd been buying X-Men, and that was awesome. And it was just so cool. I loved my local comic shop. I really miss it. There's no other shop quite like it. Most shops nowadays don't really focus on back issues, because his focus on back issues was so great, because like I said, every back issue was $1, and then on top of that, whenever he'd buy, because he'd buy in bulk from other people, like people that'd be selling their huge comic collections, whenever he'd do that, he would have those new comics out on a table, so that way you could sort through the new comics before he went and put them in their like respective places, so that you just have these mishmash of new back issues, and you'd be able to go through them, which was so cool. And that's how I found new parts to my comics, when I'd be like, "Oh, I have part 2 of City of Assassins, but I need the rest," and then I'd go and I'd hunt down the rest in his comic shop, and it was so much fun, and I missed that. Especially compared to the second comic shop I ever went to, which I believe it was in Pensacola. I want to say it was in Pensacola, but anyways, when I went there, it was weird because it was so much more corporate than my comic shop, because my comic shop was run by one dude who occasionally had another guy that would come in and help him out. It was primarily him. And then when I went to this shop, it was employees with name tags and like the logo on their actual shirts, and everything was like very clean and like very corporate looking, and it was very weird to me. And then when I went to the back issues were more expensive than new issues, and I was so thrown off by it. I was like, "What? Why are the older issues more expensive than the newer ones?" And I don't mean like, old like collectible issues. I just mean like some random issue from 2005 would be more expensive than an issue that came out a week ago. And I'd be like, "Well, this doesn't make any sense." And I didn't get that. I loved at my old comic shop how all the back issues were $1. So yeah, a lot of that threw me off. And then later on down the line, how I first got into reading actual new comics was because of the New 52. Because prior to the New 52, I only bought back issues because there was no reason to buy new issues. When I go to new issues, it'd be like they'd be on issue 695 or whatever, and be like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on, and this is more expensive than $1, so there's no reason for me to buy this. I can just go and catch up by reading all these back issues." So there's no reason for me to read new. And then they rebooted everything. I remember how I found out about New 52 reboot was because I saw an article that said, "Hey, Superman and Lois are no longer married, blah, 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 big stuff's happening for DC." I was like, "Wait, what? What's going on?" And then it turned out it was just a reboot with the New 52. So I'm like, well, guess I gotta buy new comics to stay up to date with what's going on. So that's when I started buying new comics. It was because of New 52. They got me. I want to talk about my first convention real quick, because I've been to a lot of conventions over the year. Conventions are really fun. If you're a comic book fan, you've never been to a convention, you should definitely look into going to one. They're so much fun. You get to meet pros. You get to meet other people like you that are into comics. And also, comics are extremely cheap there, because you have a lot of comic shops that are trying to get rid of their back inventory. So they'll put stuff super cheap that would normally be like $30. You can get like a $5 hardcover that normally be like $30. So it's very cheap. It's very nice to go to cons. My first con was a tiny one that was called the Daytona Comic and Toy Show, and it was I would say it was the size of maybe like it was like double or triple the size of my apartment, which is very small for a con. It was in like the back of this hotel, this room. It was free admission. It didn't cost anything to go in there. Just went in there. There are a couple tables set up, different vendors that had like comics and toys, and I just loved it. There were no pros or anything there. It's just people selling their comics and their toys. And those were where I bought Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, which was the first trade I ever bought, and I bought the deluxe edition of it, which means that it comes with like 2 action figures. It came with Superman and Batman. The thing that sucked about that was the Superman Batman action figures were awful, because I had them sitting up like on my shelf and their arms just fell off. Like, I didn't mess with them or anything. All I did was put them on my shelf for display, and they fell off. The arms fell off. They were made so terribly. They look cool. They look just like Ed McGuinness's art, but their arms fell off. So yeah, that kind of sucked. But yeah, I love the deluxe edition. And I also got I got a Calabac action figure that day. I don't even remember what happened to that thing, but I got Calabac, and that was what I got from that Daytona Comic and Toy Show, and I loved it. And from then on, I always wanted to go to conventions. They're so much fun. So yeah, guys, that was how I first ever got into comics, and then how I got to my first comic shop and my first convention. I want to hear from you guys. What was your first experience with comics? How did you guys first get into comic books? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.
Legends never die. We've been going every night. I've been feeling way too blessed, but with Lex, I'm never stressed. They don't know just what we do. We've been out here with the crew.